Hello there, my name's Mark, aka Marco.
And I'm Bethel, aka Bella, and together we're MARCOBELLA.
So today, first of all, we wanted to say a big thank you to everybody that's actually subscribed. Reason being, the more subscribers we have, the better we're able to get our content out to the people that need it.
It's been amazing. We've only been on 5 days and we already have 121 subscribers. So thank you to everyone for liking, commenting, and just being a part of the journey with us. Without you guys, as I said in one of the comments, there would be no this. So
I think more importantly, this is about having an open dialogue. So there are people with lots of needs around relationships, just getting a better understanding of how they can address some of the issues they've had in the past, because they don't want to carry that baggage into their marriages. And so what we're looking to do is to support them in that journey. So the more subscribers, the better we're able to get this content out for free.
we had some questions and we thought actually it would be good to just answer. I think Mark's already answered the first one, which is what was your inspiration for the channel? So that's our inspiration. We have already been doing a lot of couples work since we got married, running events, and some people have been asking us, is the event going to come back? Yes, the event is going to come back as well, for those of you who are in the UK. But at the moment, we're just going to concentrate on like online stuff. As you know, we have a baby coming, so let's get the baby out first, and then we'll talk about the events. But yeah, so that's our focus at the moment. So the second question was, so how long did it take you guys to decide that you now want to have children? And also, did you think having some time together without children after getting married helped you to have more of a connection or grow in love? So there's two parts to that.
Right, okay.
So the first part is, how long did it take you guys to decide that you wanted to have children? So I think from before we got married, we always knew that we wanted to have children, but we were also aware that children are hard work. They're beautiful and we absolutely love them. But, you know, we like to consider ourselves conscious parents. You know, there's that phrase going around. So we wanted to be there for our kids. We wanted to really invest in them. We understand that God has put us as stewards for our children on this earth. And it's bigger than just like having a baby and then like seeing how it goes. For us, it was more like, okay, actually we know that children are the heritage of the Lord. They're the fruit of the womb is like his reward. We know that children are the crown of the old man, and all these kind of things. It's like these amazing scriptures, which we will put in the description bar below. And also God asked us to be fruitful and multiply. So it was always something we wanted to do. We always wanted to have children. But we were also aware of the weight that having children carries. And I think obviously I got married when I was 21. I'll talk about that another day. Mark was 26, I was 21. I was like fresh out of uni. I was growing. I was also a new Christian. There was a lot of things that I was getting to know about myself. And so when we first got married, it was like, actually, we're still developing as people in ourselves. We still don't even know who we are as people.
I mean, I knew who I was.
Okay.
Mark, you know, Christian, musician, and all of those sort of things. But
yeah, but I mean, like, and also just like knowing that, because obviously we didn't live together before we got married, it was like knowing that you're going to now live with this person, of course, who I loved dearly, and I'd been his friend for years, but actually there's a difference. Living with someone is quite different. So just getting to know each other. So we wanted to just allow some time to just get to know each other. And
yeah, I think at the low level, the thinking was that, if anything, what we just want to do is spend some time together.
Yeah. And have some fun as well. Be able to travel and
exactly
date. And we'll date because you don't get to you don't have any physical contact before marriage and stuff like that. So we're married now, and it was just like enjoying your time together. I mean, other people have different opinions. Other people want to have children straight off the cuff, and that's also okay. If that is the way that you want to do things, that's fine. I think I said in my written reply that it is your decision as a couple, and you need to pray about it, and you need to make a decision based on your circumstances, because everyone's circumstances are different. And obviously I was young, I was 21, I was like, actually I need to grow up a little bit. I don't feel like I'd be the greatest mom right now. But yeah, so I just wanted to do some personal growth with myself. There was a lot of things that I went through in my childhood, and a lot of things that I was overcoming, having just become a new Christian. So for me, I really just wanted to have some time to grow, and so that I could be available to my kids, like when they did come. So
in terms of you being available for your kids, how do you mean exactly?
As in, like, because as I was saying, because I was a new Christian and I was going through my own things, like getting over my own trauma of the past, let's put it that way. I didn't want to be that mom who was like too in her own head to not be there when my kid is needing me, and not be emotionally available to that child, because at that time of my life I wasn't. And looking back now, I'm like, yeah, I definitely, like, knowing how Micah Seth is and how needy he is, like, it's still hard now, but I'm like, gosh, if that was then, I don't know how I would have managed that, and just had the patience.
Yeah, I was thinking out loud here. Everybody's experience is unique, and it's quite subjective in that, from the moment you move in together after your wedding, and you move in together, you start to experience life in a very different way. So, for example, the first week is going to be different to the second week and the third week, and so forth. And so there are patterns that start to form, rhythms that start to form, and you suddenly realise actually you might have had a plan, but because of this different rhythm and the ebb and flow of life and how things are happening, some things will have to go on hold, or some things will have to take precedence, because obviously the rhythm is happening in a specific way.
And I feel like that happened for us because we didn't think we would take that long to actually eventually have children. No. So we just thought, we would want some time together. But then just the way things happened, like in my first year, I was finishing my master's. Yeah. Then after that, we moved back from Canterbury to Milton Keynes. We then had to live with family. Financially, things weren't going on okay, and we will post some videos about finances. Things weren't great. We just weren't in the place where we're like, actually, we can bring another person into this situation. So Mark, I remember at one point I was feeling broody after 1.5 years, and I was like, I think we should have a kid. And he was like, I think we should just wait a little bit. And then, we did wait a little bit, but then thereafter I then started the social work course, and then it was like this 14-month intensive course, and it wasn't like I was like, okay, I'm pushing kids to the back burner for my career. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, as Mark said, the way that life was going, it didn't make sense for me to get pregnant before I started.
I think it's another really good point about stewardship. So Beth was talking about this earlier. So are you ready for that next step, which is, are you ready to actually be a parent? Are you ready to
commit to that?
To commit to that. Are you ready to be present in the moment? And of course, we all have responsibilities in terms of bills to pay and stuff like that. But with parenting, that's a higher level of stewardship. And so, there's a responsibility which Beth was talking about when she talked about some of the past things that she experienced and how she wanted to deal with that before the kids came. Yeah. Because obviously you don't want to pass the trauma that you had from the past onto the kids in the future. Exactly. And so we wanted to work on that before actually having any kids. Yeah. Which is why we chose the route that we went down.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, everything happens in God's time, because as Christians we pray, and depending on the leadership at the time, with the leadership that you have, how you're influenced and stuff like that, you'll obviously have some kind of direction with regards to that.
And I think when we eventually, when I passed and qualified, then we're like, let's do it. There's nothing else standing in our way. And that was we were now married for 5 years when we first tried, and we got pregnant straight away, but I had a miscarriage, and that was a huge shock, because until that point no one had ever talked about miscarriages, and no one had ever talked about things like that. It was kind of I don't know whether people think it's a taboo subject or what, but when we were told the news from the nurse, she was like, 1 in 3 pregnancies will miscarry, not 1 in 3 women will have a miscarriage, 1 in 3 pregnancies will miscarry. And it was that's a fact I didn't know. So that's something we will talk about, our experience of that, in a different video. So we then had to take some time from then. So I don't know, probably another 6 months probably that we took.
I think it was something like that.
After that, which gave us a whole nother year if you think about the pregnancy time and then the 6 months. So by the time we had Micah Seth, we had been married for 7 years before we had our first child. there's pros and cons to that. We look back and go, gosh, actually, sometimes if we had started sooner, we would have been younger. It would be much easier to carry the babies physically.
Definitely for Bethel.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I am over 30 now. There's nothing wrong with having babies over 30, but I definitely am feeling it. I'm feeling it. So there's pros and cons to everything, guys. And the second part was, did you feel like having some time together without children brought you closer or made you have more of a connection, grow in love?
So is that saying about the myth of the greener grass? And there's actually a book to that effect, a really good book. I'll put that in the description box. But what I wanted to talk about here is that from every perspective, it could look one way. So in this tense where the question is asking, because you took time, does that then mean you were able to iron out some of the things, and did it help you become
grow
more
in love and become more
stuff like that?
Connected?
But ultimately, whether you have children or not, the fundamental underlying theme or the line that the thought is that you should always have a clear view of how you want to grow in your intimacy. So you should have a clear plan, be intentional about it.
Yeah.
And so whether you have kids or you don't have kids, still be intentional. So for example, we're talking about practical things before we started shooting the video.
Yeah.
We're talking about, before you have kids, maybe you're able to go out on dates and you've got more time to actually do all the stuff that you want to do.
Just go with the flow of the day and be spontaneous and
absolutely,
just do things
absolutely.
whenever you want to do them and that kind of stuff.
But when you have kids, that changes.
Yeah.
And so being intentional means then you remember that, actually, we used to do this.
Yeah.
So, for example, in our case tonight, the kids aren't here. Micah Seth's not here. So we've got free time to actually record this video.
Thank you, Grandma.
So again, that's being intentional about what we want to do. And
just making sure that you book time if you don't have grandparents, maybe with a trusted friend or relative. We actually, before we moved into this house, we had a monthly booking for a weekend a month with my mum, and that just meant that every month you were guaranteed that weekend off, and it made sense. So if you can do something like that, that is at the moment, Micah said, hasn't wanted to sleep away from me, probably because I'm pregnant.
And the other point to mention is that your relationship is always going to be evolving. So at every stage there are pressing challenges or pressing issues, however you like to frame that.
Yeah.
But being intentional means that, regardless and in spite of whatever it is, you're still making that time, as Beth was
for each other.
For each other. And that's what will help you grow in your intimacy.
Yeah, because the thing is, some people might say, since the kids came, we don't do this, we don't do that. But actually, some people don't have kids and they still don't do that. And they still don't go out. And they still work all the time. And they don't have time for their relationship. So let's not blame it on the kids. Kids are wonderful. They do take up a ton of time. Especially if you have more than one. And you have 4, like my sister. God help her, she works hard. So they do take time. We're not standing here saying that kids don't take up time. They take up time. But also, I think a lot of times as well, which we'll talk about in a different video, is deciding on your parenting strategies and things like that. Those help to minimize arguments and things like that. And sometimes when the kids come and you haven't talked about that, you haven't decided what type of parents you want to be, you haven't decided what strategies you want to use, so now the kid is here and it's what are we doing? Yeah. Because you haven't even considered that. So there's so many factors. As I said in the written, there's not a one size fits all. If you want to have kids straight away and that's your calling and you love it and you want to do it and all you ever wanted was to just be parents, go for it. They're amazing and you're going to be amazing stewards. And we know friends of ours who had 3 under 5 at one point. It's oh my gosh, but they love their children and they are just amazing parents. So it really doesn't matter whether you have them to begin with or you have them later. What matters is that you have decided that as a couple and you're being intentional about your romantic life. Keep the questions coming. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss another video.